Good morning, welcome back to Find Me in Seattle. Today you can find me in the very currently sleepy neighborhood of Pioneer Square in downtown Seattle. This is our historic neighborhood. As you can tell, very unique, special, very old buildings, old for Seattle age as well. But welcome to Find Me in Seattle. I am your host. As always, my name is Connor Kaysen, and welcome. So we're here in Pioneer Square because I'm going to this new Haitian pop-up coffee shop. They're only open, I think, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They're inside this store called Flora and Fauna, which is a plans and gifts store inside this historic building. And the coffee shop is called Bonhomie. So what's interesting about this coffee is that they made a sweet plantain syrup for the latte, and I just think that's awesome. I think there's some cinnamon on top. They always get me with the cinnamon on top. Why am I such a sucker for that? So it's been a couple weeks since I vlogged, and that's because I've just been swamped with short form videos that have taken up all my time. Over on Instagram and TikTok, I've done a video about the Delridge Farmers Market. That's my favorite farmers market in the city. It's a BIPOC focused farmers market. And what's cool about what Delridge Farmers Market does is they actually guarantee the sales for all the farmers. So if they don't sell through all the produce, the market will actually buy the produce from them and then donate it, give it away to those in need, which I think is just very cool, very beneficial to these up and coming farmers and these startup businesses. And it's just a great scene. And I promote them every year, and I just think they deserve that notoriety. I also drove in the same week. I also went to this track in Kent, this racing track, and I got in a Porsche 911 and with a professional race car driver and drove around the track and 140 miles per hour. It was very cool. And so to get in a race car and then go to this Delridge Farmers Market and make videos about them is very cool. And that's just what's funny about this job is every day is so different, and I interact with so many different people and different types of businesses and touched so many different things. And I got an advertisement coming out next week for let's just say the biggest corporation in Seattle, and it's gonna be interesting to see how people respond to that, but I'll follow up with that in the next video. So one of the stories I wanted to tell this week was about this restaurant experience that my wife and I had this previous Sunday. There's this restaurant I believe it's called Charlotte, but it's spelled Charlotte because it's in the Lotte or latte. Man, I've been messing this up for years. Spelled Charlotte, but I'm pretty sure it's Charlotte in the Lotte Hotel. And the restaurant is on the 16th floor. Seattle doesn't really have a ton of rooftop high up restaurants, and I would say this is maybe the one that is spoken about the least. But there was there was three things that stuck out to me about this dining experience. One, we went on Sunday night and made a reservation. I was worried it was going to be crowded, and there was nobody there. There was one other table. We got a reservation for 5:30 because we had a babysitter, and there was one other table sitting down, and then there was a birthday party, or it almost felt like maybe it was a wedding party, but that's solely based off one woman being dressed in all white, and that she could have been dressed in all white for any reason. But that group was super loud, and then we were sitting at the restaurant. That doesn't matter. Number two was the view. It's on the 16th floor, looking west towards the water. So you have this beautiful view of the water. And then you have a view of a lot of roofs that are kind of ugly. And that's always one of the downside on these rooftop bar or rooftop restaurants. It's not even a rooftop. One of the downsides of these sky-rise restaurants is a lot of the view is actually looking at busted buildings and these ugly rooftops that aren't being utilized. Some are. Some have beautiful parks on the top. But overall, I think the view is nice for sure. Especially if you can get one of those tables that is looking good. All right, I'm so off track. First, I've been obsessed with short ribs ever since we went to Hawaii, back in December. Short ribs are just the best food. And so I had an incredible short rib there. This is I will go back to this restaurant for that short rib. And I almost never say that about restaurants. All right, so we have the view, we have the short rib. But the one thing that stuck out to me that I think so many restaurants don't do this little extra step. When we show up to the restaurant, server's hey, what brings you here? It's a nice place that people go out for anniversaries and birthdays and everything. And my wife just goes, we got a babysitter, right? Like, we're out celebrating because we got a babysitter and we like finally get a night to ourselves. And so at the end of the dinner, we decided not to get dessert because we're actually going to go out and get dessert somewhere else. And he brings this plate. It's like a scoop of ice cream, something simple, but he took with the chocolate. He wrote, because we had a babysitter on it. And that just like was awesome, right? Like, one of those little things that he actively listened, he heard what we said, and then he just did that little extra step. I'm sure most of the time they're writing like happy birthday, happy anniversary on there, but just like write that little note. There's a possibility they give that ice cream to everybody, but writing that personalized note like stuck out so much to both my wife and I that like made the experience for us. And it ended the night in like such a positive way that I look so positively now on Charlotte, because we just like, it just like, it filled me with love, and it was fun, and it was so cute to see. And yeah, then we got the ice cream. We're like, oh no, I guess we're going double dessert tonight, which was totally fine. And so shout out to Charlotte. What a nice touch. That was just so cool. I love it. All right, so this is the moment that we change the scenery. I'm here in Pioneer Square. I think we're gonna stay in Pioneer Square. Let's go. Let's set my coffee down. So one of the things that did happen since the last time I did a vlog was they announced that Seattle was no longer going to be a 206 area code. They've like ran out of 206 phone numbers, and the new number is going to be 564. So now Seattleites are going to be known as 564, but the real OGs are going to know that they're 206. And so there's so many people that always complain about all the new people that come to Seattle. And so now, not like anyone's changing their phone number anyways. I was thinking like, oh, all the new people are going to be able, you're going to be identified about when you move to Seattle based off your phone number. But I've had my same California phone number for 25 years now. And I've moved multiple states since then. I've lived in Seattle for 14 years now, and I haven't changed my number. So it's not really a good thing. I don't think the phone number is actually going to identify specifically the new people new, but it is going to be a phone number for Gen Alpha and Gen Z. All the kids that get phone numbers from here on out are going to be 564. So now if you get a 564 number, it's like, oh, you are under the age of 15. I don't know. At what age do kids get phone numbers nowadays? Not really sure. That's probably something that I'm going to figure out here. There's probably something I'm going to learn here over the next couple of years as my children get older and request a phone. But yeah, I guess they're going to get 564 phone numbers, aren't they? So I'm back at Habitat Beach. This is in Pioneer Square, or towards the water. It's kind of like a secret park. I was here in one of the earlier episodes when I took everyone on a vlog. I brought my kid here, and I think it's like an underrated, oh no. Well, that sound might just ruin my vlog, huh? So this is probably one of the most unknown parks in all of downtown, because it's right here next to the ferry. The tide comes up, but there's rocks. It's not like a beach, like a sand beach. I probably wouldn't go into the water here either because of all the boats. But as far as like you can get lunch or get off the ferry and like hang out here, like I have been utilizing this spot a lot when I come downtown now. And the reason why I'm back here is today is the opening of the new Molly Moon here on the waterfront. Is it Molly Moon or Molly Moons? I'm gonna use it interchangeably. Figure that out when I go back to look at the shop. But Molly Moon is opening her ice cream stand and another, I think this is their 10th business here on the waterfront, and it's kind of like built into what looks like an old like train station, which I think is very cool, and then looks directly, it has the same view that we're looking at right now across Puget Sound, which I think is cool. So, all right, so I gotta tell this story about this business right here, Merchants Cafe. Merchants Cafe is like known, or it's arguably Seattle's oldest restaurant. Says it was established in 1890, and I got a really funny story about one time that I came here. So this building, very notoriously haunted, right? It's been here for 150 years. So of course they've got some stories. So this story, I was sitting at the bar, and if you ever go in here, the bar has this notebook of all of the recollections and the stories of people who work there or the people who live up here in these buildings, and the ghosts that they have interacted with. And so having a few drinks with some friends, and we're reading that book, and as time goes on, we're just getting like more and more scared of the building, right? Like just believing more and more like, oh, there are ghosts in this building. So after we have a couple of drinks, we've been there for 90 minutes, I ask where the restroom is. And the bartender goes, the restroom is down in the basement. And so I'm just like, oh, that's interesting. And then I go down into the basement, and all the lights, there are no lights in the basement. And it's like a big, bar area for like events and everything, and there's no lights on. So then I start panicking. I actually come back up, and I got my friend go down into the bathroom with me, and we're just both like terrified to go to the bathroom in this place, just like scared of like, is something gonna pop up? Are we gonna see a ghost? Something gonna happen? And I'll just never forget the time that I was here, and I was just absolutely terrified of all of these ghost stories that I read, and having to go to the bathroom, which is down in the basement with all the lights off. Never been so scared to go to the bathroom in my life. I almost didn't go. I almost was like, no way, I can hold it. I'll go to the bathroom somewhere else. It was just a funny time in a place, or in a story that I'll never get about going here. I was trying to record in this alley earlier, and there were two people sitting here doing something, let's just say, unsavory. But this alley really caught my eye because it just looks at this building that Bonhomie is in, and I think it's just absolutely just stunning. I know that building is historic. It's probably one of the oldest buildings in the city, and I just think it's cool. While we're hanging out here by the trash cans, Bonhomie was super cool. I actually went back in because I want to do a further video about them. Started by Michelle, who started experimenting with syrups at home, and that's where she came up with the sweet plantain syrup. And then she hosted just a family and friends little pop-up at, I believe, her house, and everyone just loved it and gave her all this feedback. So then she was like, I think I'm going to take this a little bit further. And then they hosted an actual pop-up where they were making coffee with the syrup, and then that went successful. And then because she's been posting on social media and been getting notoriety through there, she was invited to pop up at other places. And then the founders here at Flora and Fauna invited her to have a semi-permanent spot in their record and plant store, which is super cool because here early in the morning, Pioneer Square is pretty slow, but now it's mutually beneficial because there's a bunch of people coming in there to get coffee, which exposes their store to new people, and it's super cute. There's just a fun vibe in there. Obviously, the plants just give it a relaxing atmosphere, but they're just playing music and dancing and vibing, and I just thought it was super fun. Very rarely do I get a coffee, I leave, and I go I should go back there. I want to tell more of the story, and so it's super cool. Bonhomie, I'm impressed. Delicious coffee. That sweet plantain syrup in here is just you want something sweet to excite your morning or early afternoon. Well, that's it. Well, that's the end of today's show. Once again, my name is Connor here at Find Me in Seattle. If you've watched this whole thing, please and make sure to subscribe. And see you next week for another journey around Seattle. See you soon.